Sorry, I don't know if you can hear Marble being a greedy dog in the background. She's eating. Ocean is wishing I would play with him, even though I just played with him. It's good to be back. It's good to see you guys. I know it's been a little while. Things have been busy. There's been a lot going on. My wife and I, we went to Cabo for about a week or so.
This is my land. It's not your land. This is my land.
And then we came home and we had a couple weeks at home. And then I went to Thailand for 2 weeks. Both of those trips were really, really fun. And there's a lot I could say about both of them, but I want to just focus on the Thailand one since the blessings from the Cabo trip were a little more personal. Those are things that I want to kind of like keep to myself. Just know that having good friends and going on vacation with them is a good idea, and you should do it if you can. As you know, this whole channel started out, well, technically this channel started because something happened many years ago that people wanted to see a recording of, which I'm not going to get into right now. But the reason I started uploading this series, as my dog, can you wait? He wants to go outside. Give me just a moment. I have a dog to let outside. The reason I started this series is because I got fired. Well, not fired, but I got let go from my job as a pastor. And that started off this whole spiral of depression and feeling like no self-worth and feeling lost and not having purpose. And to be clear, I'm not saying these things flippantly so as to dismiss how I was feeling at the time and how I am still feeling to a lesser extent, but more just because now with distance, I'm able to kind of separate myself from the mental anguish that I was dealing with in the moment when those things happened. But like I said, there was something specifically that hadn't been addressed that I was struggling with, which was the idea that as a professional, my career may or may not have just ended. And of course, I'm young. I feel weird saying that because I don't know, like, I guess I'm young. I'm just not as young as I used to be. I'm still young, right? If some of you are watching this, you're rolling your eyes like, okay, Jerome, you're a child. So I was thinking like, man, I'm 27. I've been doing this for 7 years. I haven't really like got as far as I thought I would get. And like now I got like booted out of the game again. And like, I'm not gonna be able to get back in. I really want to be a pastor, but like maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not gonna have the chance to do this again. Like, this is really frustrating. I'm not saying my feelings were rational, but that was how I felt. About a month after I got word that I was going to lose my job, so it was like I was right about to lose my job, I had some friends come and visit me, and their names are Emmanuel and Eugenia. They're very good friends of mine and investors. We've known them since we lived in Loma Linda. We've known them for about 5 years now. And Emmanuel always goes on these mission trips and he always invites me, and I'm never able to go. And this time that he visited me, I made a joke like, well, I can go with you on your next mission trip because it's not like I'll have a job anyway, right? So I didn't expect him to actually have something for me. He was like, oh, I'm actually planning a mission trip to Thailand. Do you want to come? And I didn't, because I was like, man, I just got like smacked in the face and told that I wasn't good enough. And there was like this fear, this irrational fear that I was gonna go and I was gonna confirm what those negative voices were telling me, that I wasn't good enough, that my career was over, and that I just wasn't cut out to do this. So I was afraid to go and fail and confirm what those voices were telling me. But Emmanuel and Eugenia, as well as my wife and some of my other friends and my parents, really strongly encouraged me, like, just go, like, stop being ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, the dog wants to come back in now. So in the end, I did tell him that I would go, but I was nervous because I was afraid that I was going to go and confirm what I feared about myself. And what followed was 2 weeks of absolute chaos. I was scheduled to do a lot of speaking appointments while I was there. I got booked to speak at 2 international schools. But the challenge of speaking in a school like that is you go and you have to do a week of spiritual emphasis, and you're talking to kids who aren't Adventist, who aren't Christian at all. So I was speaking at a school of about 1,000 kids, speaking 3 times a day. I spoke 4 days that week, and then the last day I just helped with the activities that they were doing. And speaking to all different age groups, right? So one session for each of the 3 divisions of the age groups. And then I also spoke a midweek service at the hospital in Bangkok. I did a Sabbath morning sermon at a church. The next week, I was doing 4 sessions a day. So the second week, I did 4 sessions a day for 5 days at a school of about 400 kids. The second school, I had a lot more input as far as like the creative process, like what the theme was, like the activities we were gonna do afterwards and things like that. So that week was a lot more challenging because there was just a lot more for me to do, a lot more input I had to give. And then Wednesday through Friday night of that week, I also did a revival series online for some of the smaller churches in Bangkok. And then that Sabbath morning, I finished off by preaching at the church that was connected to the school that I had spoken at through that second week. There's a lot of pressure to perform because everyone's being told like, oh, this is a guy coming in from overseas. There's these young kids who are like in high school who they're very skeptical. Like, well, who is this guy coming in? Like,
where you from? Where that at?
Like, who is he? We don't know anything about him. Like, does he have any idea what he's talking about? Like, should we even listen to him? Because, you know, you're starting from zero with these kids. So there was a lot of pressure on me to perform, like I said. And there was something really pure about it. For 2 weeks, all I had to do was just focus on the performance. Just focus on the work every day. And sure, I did some touristy stuff. I went around, had a good time. And that was great. But especially by the second week, I didn't really have time to do those things because it was just, there was so much going on. But by the time I was done with those 2 weeks, I had like lost sight of all those negative things I had been thinking about myself. I didn't have space or time to tell myself that I wasn't good enough, to tell myself that I couldn't do it, to tell myself that I was a failure or whatever, because I had so much going on that I had to focus on. I didn't have time to be negative. So it was like the work, the purity of it, just every day, get up, do your job, every day focus on your craft, focus on the performance, focus on the task that God has put before you. It like burned that negativity out of me. And by the time I was done, I was telling Emmanuel, I was like, I don't feel that way anymore. Because how can I? Like I just executed
Order 66
on 2 weeks of insanity, 38 presentations in 2 weeks, and God flexed on me so hard by saying, look, you think that you can't do it. Let me show you what you can do when you work with me. And my takeaway that I want to share with you all is that maybe you can relate to this idea of like past experiences making you feel like you're not good enough. Maybe it's something that you heard from a significant other, or something that you heard from a family member, or something that the world has just told you over and over, like you're not good enough at this. You're not someone that people want to be around. You're not someone who brings something to the table. You're not someone who can meaningfully contribute to a conversation. You're not someone who has anything really to offer career-wise. Maybe you're like me and you've had a negative past experience and those voices in your head have lingered from that past experience. And what I want to tell you is, from my experience, those voices are wrong. I'm not saying that you don't have to do any self-examination and like look to see like, well, maybe there is something that I could do better, or some way I could be better. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that oftentimes that thing that you've told yourself so many times that you can't do and you're not good at, sometimes when you just step out in faith and allow God to show you what you actually can do, you'll be surprised. I was surprised. And I hope that you'll have the opportunity to experience that for yourselves as well. So I encourage you, whatever it is that you've told yourself you can't do, like you've told yourself you could never be happy again. You've told yourself that you could never love yourself properly again. You've told yourself that you could never find someone who would understand you. Don't listen to those voices, because they're wrong. And you can. I know so because God proved that to me, and I have confidence that He'll do the same for you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you are all doing well. Be safe. Goodbye. I'll see you next time.